My family and I paused to reflect on the life and loss of a sovereign who meant so much to us all, and to celebrate anew the many blessings of her memory.
So, the British royal family is reeling from a bombshell revelation. Prince William's lawyers have confirmed the final transfer of King Charles III's most guarded personal estate assets.
In every corner of the UK, across the Commonwealth, and around the world, he has dedicated himself to serve others.
What was long whispered about in palace corridors is now locked in legal stone. As Charles navigates health challenges and succession pressures, this move reshapes power, wealth, and loyalty within the monarchy.
We've received breaking news from Buckingham Palace, which has announced that the King has been diagnosed with cancer.
Insiders say the confirmation has left senior royals stunned, exposing deep fault lines between father and son.
Today, I am proud to create him Prince of Wales, Tywysog Cymru, the country whose title I've been so greatly privileged to bear during so much of my life and duty. With Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales will, I know.
Now, before we get into the hidden details and the staggering sums involved, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button to our channel real quick so you don't miss how we break down these quiet palace power struggles, the legal bombshell background and confirmation. So, here's where the story actually starts. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away,
we are expecting the news from Balmoral that she's having treatment, or that indeed they are unable to help Her Majesty anymore.
The immediate focus of the entire world was on the massive public machinery of the British state. We saw the grand processions, the ancient ceremonies, and the swift automatic transfer of the crown itself.
Today, King Charles III was officially crowned king with an official proclamation.
In the blink of an eye, the Duchy of Cornwall went straight from Charles to William.
He succeeds me as Duke of Cornwall and takes on the responsibilities for the Duchy of Cornwall, which I have undertaken for more than 5 decades.
That was always going to happen. It was a centuries-old rule of succession. It was the line of succession doing exactly what it was supposed to do, and nobody questioned it. You see, the Duchy of Cornwall is not just some title. It is a massive, incredibly lucrative portfolio. We are talking about over 135,000 acres of land spread across 20 counties, including organic farms, residential developments, commercial real estate in London, and even Dartmoor Prison. It brings in tens of millions of dollars a year. When William took it over, he didn't waste any time. He ran his very first meeting with a highly businesslike, corporate attitude. It was a sharp contrast to Charles's eccentric, hands-on style. People inside the duchy realized immediately that the new boss was running things like a modern CEO. But the private estates told a far more complex story. Behind the public ceremonies and the state palaces, there is a quiet, private world of massive family wealth. This wealth does not belong to the British government, and it does not belong to the taxpayer. We are talking about Sandringham, the vast winter estate in Norfolk where the family spends Christmas, and Balmoral, the remote estate in the Scottish Highlands where the family retreats in the summer. These are not state properties. They are private, personal family homes. And Charles had long operated on the belief that the crown gave him unlimited authority to reshape the family's private holdings at will. He assumed that because he was the king, he had the final, absolute say over every single piece of family property, every private trust, and every personal inheritance. He thought he held all the purse strings, and that everyone else in the family would have to come to him with their hands out. He wanted to keep the rest of the family dependent on him, relying on allowances from his office. But a formal legal document delivered straight to his office proved that he was completely wrong. The real shock lies in how William didn't simply request this transition. He did not wait around for the slow, traditional palace offices to handle it. He went out, hired his own legal team, and quietly secured his position years before anyone else even realized what was happening. He went far beyond a simple request. He proactively forced the issue by bypassing the family's favorite gatekeepers. For decades, whenever the royals had to handle sensitive personal matters, draft wills, or structure their private wealth, they used a London law firm called Harbottle and Lewis. They are the traditional palace lawyers. They have represented the king, the late Queen, and even Prince Harry for years. They are deeply embedded in the secretive, quiet culture of Buckingham Palace. If you want a family deal kept completely in the dark, you send it to them. But William did not use them. Instead, he went straight to Mishcon de Reya. Think about the message that sends. If you know anything about the dramatic royal divorces of the 90s, that name should ring a bell. Mishcon de Reya is the firm that represented Princess Diana during her highly publicized, bitter divorce from Charles. They are the lawyers who fought Charles in the open, exposing the inner workings of his private finances to the world. They helped Diana secure her historic £17 million settlement, completely catching Charles's legal team off guard by choosing them to draft and finalize this massive transfer of private assets. William was making a very clear, deliberate statement of complete independence. He was telling his father's household that the old days of handling family business behind closed doors with the king's preferred lawyers were over. And when those lawyers issued the formal confirmation of this transfer, it sent shockwaves through the palace. To understand why this is such a big deal, you have to look at how royal property is actually structured. It is a maze of legal categories. You have the Crown Estate, which is a massive public portfolio worth billions. The king does not own the Crown Estate. Its revenues go to the government, and the king gets a percentage back through the sovereign grant to fund state duties. But Sandringham and Balmoral are completely different. They are private estates, bought and paid for out of the family's personal funds. Balmoral was originally purchased privately by Prince Albert for Queen Victoria in 1852 for £31,500, and Sandringham was acquired by Edward VII in 1862. Because they are private, they have their own unique, highly controversial tax rules. Under a special agreement signed in 1993 between John Major's government and Queen Elizabeth II, assets passing from one sovereign to the next are completely exempt from the standard 40% inheritance tax. The idea was to keep these historic estates from being broken up and sold off to pay massive tax bills. Here's the thing, and this is where William's legal team showed their strategic foresight. Rather than waiting for the natural transition of the crown, which is already clouded by Charles's ongoing health struggles, William's lawyers moved to secure a binding, permanent transfer of these private holdings and investments now. They did not want to leave anything to chance. Public scrutiny on royal wealth is higher than it has ever been. There is a very real fear inside Kensington Palace that a future government could easily change or scrap the 1993 tax exemption entirely. If that happened after Charles passed away, the family's private empire would face a massive tax bill. By locking this transfer in, today, William's lawyers have insulated their personal wealth from future political changes. And when you compare how William is operating to how the family has historically managed its wealth, the double standard is impossible to ignore. When Queen Elizabeth II passed away, her will was immediately sealed in a secure vault, hidden from public eyes for at least 90 years. Charles has always preferred that level of absolute, unquestioned secrecy. He operated with tight, centralized control, believing he was the sole custodian of the family's fortune. William's legal intervention has completely dismantled that old way of doing business. A quiet storm has been brewing behind closed doors for years, particularly around how these massive estates are actually run. Charles is a romantic traditionalist. He loves organic farming, slow-yield agricultural preservation, and running Balmoral and Sandringham as personal sanctuaries, regardless of how much they actually cost to maintain. But William is a pragmatist. He is focused on commercial viability, green energy, and turning these historic properties into modern, self-sustaining businesses. Insiders reveal there have been intense, quiet clashes over tenant contracts, housing developments, and the high financial overhead of Charles's management style. When the final confirmation documents were delivered, the initial reaction inside the king's office was apparently flat denial. Courtiers tried to spin it as a routine administrative update, a basic clerical realignment of family holdings. But as the legal reality set in, that denial quickly turned into a silent, heavy wave of resignation, like not a routine update, not a minor change, a complete surrender, and the fallout is already spreading across the family. Moy Jamsh to Queen Camilla, this transfer is a sharp, undeniable reminder of the limits of her influence. Because these are private, bloodline-linked assets, her office was entirely shut out of the decision-making process. She remains comfortable, but the ultimate authority over where the family gathers, how the private funds are spent, and who owns the actual land now rests solely in William's hands. Meanwhile, Prince Harry has been completely and permanently sidelined. Any lingering, unsaid hope that he might one day inherit a portion of his father's private wealth or be granted a permanent, secure base on these historic estates has been legally extinguished. The door has been locked, and the keys have been handed to William's legal team. When you look at the actual numbers, the scale of this shift is staggering. The Duchy of Cornwall's recent reports confirmed that William's annual surplus income reached over $28 million. What makes this new transfer so significant is how it amplifies that existing fortune, combining his massive agricultural revenues with Charles's private investment portfolios to make William an independent, financial superpower. He has achieved what no heir to the throne has ever possessed: total, unchecked financial independence from the reigning monarch. And once that line is drawn, you can't go back. The royal shutout. The legal papers only tell half the story. Because when you actually look at what was signed versus what happened, the whole situation reveals this quiet power shift that has been happening behind closed doors for years. And most people completely missed it. For decades, Charles had a very specific, deeply personal vision for the monarchy. He wanted a slimmed-down institution, a tight, focused group of working royals that would minimize cost, streamline public appearances, and keep absolute control centralized in his office. He believed that by keeping the circle small, he could maintain total authority over every aspect of the royal brand and the family's wealth. But William's approach is entirely different. Where Charles sees a traditional court to be managed, William sees a modern enterprise that must be run with corporate discipline, absolute transparency, and strategic foresight. This estate transfer is the ultimate, symbolic handover of that independence. For the first time in modern history, the Prince of Wales does not have to look to the king for financial approval or permission to launch major projects. The dynamic has completely flipped, and at the center of this quiet revolution is Catherine, the Princess of Wales. Now, while the public often sees Kate as a supportive, gentle figure focused on ceremonial duties and family appearances, insiders paint a very different picture of her role behind palace walls. She is described not as a passive observer, but as a highly pragmatic, deeply protective strategic partner. Kate understands, perhaps better than anyone, that the survival of their household depends on absolute financial stability. She has watched the chaotic public fallout of family disputes, the unpredictable nature of media leaks, and the physical toll that public service has taken on both Charles and William. By backing William's legal team, she has helped construct an unbreakable financial shield around their children, ensuring they can operate without fear of being undermined by internal palace politics or future shifts in sovereign favor. In stark contrast, this legal wall serves as the final, absolute exclusion of Prince Harry. When Harry and Meghan made their dramatic exit from royal life, they spoke of a desire to become financially independent. They wanted to carve out their own path, free from the constraints of the sovereign system. But the reality of that decision has played out in a way they likely never anticipated. While they have had to rely on volatile, short-term commercial deals in California, they have been completely and permanently cut off from the massive, generational private reserves of the family estate. This final transfer, executed by Mishcon de Reya, ensures that none of Charles' private wealth, personal property, or land can ever be redirected to support the Sussex household. It is a legal boundary that makes their separation permanent. Meanwhile, senior working royals like Princess Anne and Prince Edward have watched these developments with a mixture of quiet respect and neutral support. Unlike the dramatic headlines that often surround the family, Anne and Edward are practical pragmatists. They recognize that Charles' health challenges require a swift, orderly transition of administrative power. They see William's decisive legal maneuvers not as an act of rebellion, but as a necessary, protective measure to ensure the continuity of the crown. So, how exactly did William's lawyers pull this off without triggering a public court battle? The answer lies in the highly sophisticated, incredibly complex legal mechanisms they embedded within the transfer documents. Sources close to the legal teams have revealed that the transfer utilizes a clever use of lifetime interest arrangements, discretionary trust funds, and automatic reversion conditions. For instance, under a lifetime interest arrangements, King Charles retains the absolute, undisputed right to live at, use, and enjoy Balmoral and Sandringham for the rest of his natural life. While the underlying ownership shifts underneath, to the outside world, nothing changes. The king can still host Christmas at Sandringham and spend his summers in the Scottish Highlands. But beneath that surface arrangement, the actual, underlying legal ownership of the land and the assets has already been transferred to William. To make it even more secure, any attempt to challenge this ownership from other family members or external legal entities would trigger an automatic reversion condition. This clause states that if any part of the private portfolio is ever contested, it immediately falls under the absolute, unchecked control of a highly secure private trust managed exclusively by William and his direct heirs. It is a smart legal shield that keeps everyone else out, designed to prevent any post-succession disputes before they can even begin. These ironclad clauses have effectively shut down any potential sway from Camilla's household. While Camilla has worked tirelessly to support the king, her position regarding the family's private wealth has always been a point of quiet sensitivity. Because Sandringham and Balmoral are private, bloodline estates, they do not pass to her. The legal reality of William's transfer ensures that while Camilla will always be cared for and provided with appropriate residences, she holds no executive power or ownership over these core assets. This clear-cut boundary has prevented any potential disputes between the king's wife and the future king, drawing a firm line between personal affection and institutional power. These maneuvers have taken place against a backdrop of intense external pressures. In an era where the public is highly sensitive to the cost of the monarchy and the lifestyle of the ultra-wealthy, William's team knew they had to act with extreme discretion. By using an independent law firm like Mishcon de Reya, William was able to keep the negotiations entirely insulated from the standard palace communications apparatus. They didn't have to worry about courtiers leaking details to the press to score points in internal rivalries. Every document, every meeting, and every signature was guarded with absolute, ironclad confidentiality until the final transfer was confirmed. This strategic silence allowed them to protect the king's dignity while quietly securing the future of the monarchy. And perhaps the most significant revelation hidden within these documents is how they protect the next generation. The transfer includes specific, legally binding provisions that lock in future income streams and property rights directly for Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis. By naming them as direct beneficiaries of these private trusts, William's lawyers have completely bypassed any other branches of the family, firmly reinforcing the principle of primogeniture in modern practice. Prince George's future role as the ultimate heir is now legally and financially secure. long before he ever takes on official duties. It is a level of forward planning that has never been seen before in the House of Windsor, ensuring that the wealth remains concentrated exactly where the power lies. Future of the monarchy. Now, let's talk about the future, because this is where the inheritance situation could actually reshape the monarchy. By securing absolute control over these private estates and investment portfolios, William has equipped himself with an unprecedented level of financial autonomy long before he ever becomes king. Historically, heirs to the throne have had to wait for the reigning monarch to pass away before they could truly implement their own vision, fund their own charities, or restructure the royal household. They were financially dependent, forced to rely on allowances and approvals from the sovereign. William has completely shattered that mold. He now has the independent wealth and property oversight to run his own parallel court. If he wants to invest heavily in his global environmental initiative, the Earthshot Prize, he doesn't need to ask the palace treasury for funding. If he wants to completely restructure how the tenant farmers on his private lands operate, he has the legal authority to do so. He is already practicing the business of being king, with the financial muscle to back up his decisions. But this independence brings with it a set of massive, complex institutional challenges. In a modern society, the divide between private royal wealth and public, taxpayer-funded sovereign grants is a constant source of public debate and scrutiny. When the public hears about billion-pound transfers of land and private investment funds, there are inevitable, loud calls for transparency. William's team is fully aware of this risk. They know that to maintain public support, they cannot simply behave like private oligarchs. They must balance commercial success with public service. How will William justify a private billionaire status in an age of austerity? This is a question his advisors are actively trying to answer. To survive, the monarchy has to prove its utility. This is why William's long-term strategy for these estates is so dramatically different from his father's, where Charles focused on traditional, often low-yield organic farming and preserving historic aesthetic standards. William is looking directly toward the future of modern land management. Insiders reveal he is actively planning to modernize the holdings, focusing heavily on renewable energy installations, commercial efficiency, and innovative housing initiatives. Under his direction, parts of these vast estates are being earmarked for affordable, sustainable housing projects designed to support local communities. By turning these private assets into visible instruments of public good, William's team is constructing a powerful defense against those who question the monarchy's wealth. This shift in strategy is also accelerating the formation of a completely new court, the traditional Team Charles faction inside the palace, consisting of older, long-serving courtiers who favor traditional protocol, is quietly finding itself eclipsed by Team William. This new, highly professionalized team consists of modern public relations experts, corporate lawyers, and strategic advisors who operate with the efficiency of a multinational corporation. This divide is no longer just a matter of differing opinions. It is now backed by distinct financial boundaries, and William is not acting in isolation. He has secured the quiet, steady support of some of the family's most respected figures. Princess Anne, known for her unmatched work ethic and no-nonsense approach, has long advocated for a pragmatic, modernized monarchy. She sees William's decisive action as a vital step toward ensuring the survival of the crown in a rapidly changing world. By aligning himself with respected, hard-working royals, William is building an unbreakable coalition that is ready to steer the institution through the inevitable transition of power. Of course, this rising power center only deepens the estrangement with the Sussexes. As William's court grows more powerful, more organized, and more financially independent, the gap between London and California becomes an unbridgeable chasm. The legal finality of this transfer means that any future reconciliation will not be a matter of personal apologies or emotional family meetings. It is now a hard legal reality. If Harry ever returns to the UK, he will find a system where his brother controls every key, every property, and every penny of the family's private legacy. When you place this transition in a historical context, the sheer scale of what William has accomplished becomes even more striking. Throughout history, transfers of royal wealth have often been messy, chaotic affairs marked by bitter public disputes and political crises. Think of Queen Victoria's battles over Prince Albert's legacy, or the financial instability that followed the abdication of Edward VII in 1936. Those transitions were reactive, forced by sudden crises and managed in a state of panic. By getting ahead of the curve, William's team has pulled off an incredibly smooth, yet quietly ruthless, redistribution of royal fortune. They have taken the potential chaos of a future succession and resolved it quietly, efficiently, and legally years in advance. But even with all this preparation, the road ahead is far from guaranteed. William's bold legal maneuvers carry inherent risks. If the public perceives this pre-succession transfer as a clever mechanism designed primarily to avoid future tax changes, it could trigger a significant public backlash. In an era of economic hardship for many, the sight of the future king consolidating a private, tax-exempt fortune requires incredibly careful public relations management. Any misstep, any leak of sensitive legal documents, or any sign of internal family greed could easily be seized upon by anti-monarchy groups. Also, the physical and emotional toll of managing this transition while supporting his father is a massive burden for William to carry. He is positioning himself as the ultimate steady hand, the reliable anchor of the state. But he is doing so under the intense, unrelenting spotlight of global media attention. His commitment to green energy on Sandringham and his recent push for net-zero carbon operations across the entire Duchy of Cornwall serve as the ultimate proof of this vision, demonstrating that he intends to lead from the front with his own money before he ever asks for a single penny of public support. The whole thing reveals exactly how royal families actually work. William didn't just secure Balmoral and Sandringham. He locked down the institutional legitimacy that separates the bloodline from everyone else. Camilla's family, through no fault of their own, are left on the outside. It reveals exactly where the institution is headed, and that direction points toward Prince William. He is the future the monarchy is preparing for, and the House of Windsor has already entered a new chapter.